Hello everyone! So this pick a card reading is going to be a little bit different from my other ones. After last week's video, I felt like I should do a collective reading more often. So a reading for the general energy in the world, for the greater collective, because we're all being so influenced by these energies. So even though it might not have a specific message for us, sometimes it's just nice to know what's going on in the world. And we are being affected by the collective's energy as well. So I actually pulled these cards. So this will be for the energy, or like what the collective was in. This is the transition time. So these are cards about where we are right now, what we're transitioning through as a collective. And then I wanted to pull some cards for what the highest vibrational timeline looks like for us after this transition. So it might not be exactly this. I literally did ask for the highest timeline vibration for these cards, because why not set your sights high? And then this last pile, this colorful pile, I had asked for advice and guidance during the transition time for the collective, for the light workers going through it. So I'm curious to see what comes through for this, but we're gonna do this at the end of the whole card reading. So I guess let me know what you think, if you find these types of card readings helpful or not. I'm not sure if I'll just do one a month or what my plan will be with it, but I just felt like a lot of the collective is going through some stuff, so we should do some more card readings on that. All right, so I'm just gonna get right into it. Okay, so we are gonna start with the energy that the collective was in. So this is kind of what I'm thinking is, sorry, the last even like I would say decades or century even, and I kind of am thinking this is starting pre-COVID, but let's see, I haven't looked at the cards yet. So we have dilettanti, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, I don't know how to say that word, dilettanti, delights in the arts without having to be a professional. Okay, we have, we have child wounded, we have child orphaned. Oh, that's so funny. I've never seen so many child cards come out. We have vampire, makes you aware of someone draining your life force. We have the unseen, and we have magnetism of Eros. So it's so funny. If I was gonna pull some biased cards, I think I would have pulled very similar cards to these. So very fascinating. You know what? I actually, as I'm like looking at this, I'm thinking this is specifically the energy the world's been in. I want to say since World War I more specifically. World War I, World War II, kind of till pre-COVID era. With the wounded child and the orphan, I really just see so much here about suppressed emotion, cultural trauma. I get a lot of like cultural PTSD, and this is so interesting, the unseen. So I almost see like everyone was like suppressing their emotions. Everyone was like hiding what was going on within themselves. And when I see this Eros card, sorry, I actually always see it as sort of like the ego, like feeling like materialism, being drawn to the outer world, not into the inner world, and only being focused on what's beautiful. So it's so appropriate, because I do feel like we started to worship materialism somewhere in the last, I don't know, I keep wanting to say century. I guess it's almost been a century. So that's so funny to think about. Holy, can't believe it's 2023. Crazy shit. Okay, anyways. Yeah, this is definitely interesting. I almost even see it as saying like the world was like seduced and almost like hypnotized. That's how I keep reading this card, is that they were just so captivated and drawn in by what the beauty, the materialism, the outer shell like making it, but making it on the outside, not making it on the inside. And it's just, oh, it's so interesting. It's literally like when you stare at one of those spiral things that keep spinning, and then your like vision goes all funny. I keep thinking about that, and how people just weren't seeing things clearly, but they're almost like not thinking straight, not thinking clearly, like really being drawn, like their focus was being drawn over here, and they weren't really realizing that there's all this stuff happening over here, but they couldn't take their focus away from the thing happening here. Very interesting. And I feel like that was happening because there was so much inner child wounding. There was so much, I just get like the emotional health of people being raised was really bad during that wartime. I know there was probably issues before that, but they're just saying like it really, really got tipped over the edge during the First World War and the Second World War. There's just basically a generations of trauma that came through on that. And I mean, there was so much that even happened that time. Like, even think of all the other countries, if they weren't involved in World War I or II, there were so many like genocides and massacres and crazy shit like that that happened in the last century alone, that I just feel like I keep thinking Rwanda too. Sorry, that I have to say it. It keeps popping to my head. Like what happened in Rwanda in, I think it was 1994. I don't totally remember my dates. Super accurately. It's been so long since I had to look at them, but I keep thinking about that and thinking about like there was just so much trauma to heal from. And it's so interesting, even like how this says here, feelings of abandonment that stifle maturation. And that's almost what I get. Like, I see like some of the generations was like their wounded child, and that feeling like you're stuck in fight or flight was just how they grew up and continued to live throughout their life. So it's interesting. I keep thinking about how like people were in their judgment a lot. Like people had to look a certain way, or there'd be a lot of judgment. People would have really strong stereotypes on people. Like there was just like a politically correct way to do everything, or a culturally correct way to do everything. Even thinking about like for women specifically, for men specifically, for races, like there's just so much going on there where it was like, they literally keep showing me that the collective was all acting from a place of like a little kid being really hurt and scared, and being scared of judgment, so that it was putting judgment on others to fit in and feel safe or do what everyone else was doing. It's really interesting. It's like, I would say the last century was the era of the wounded inner child, and it being like the ruler. And this here, depleting others for your physical survival, chronic complaining and codependency. It's so interesting. I hate to say this, but I get this energy more for some of the elder generations, like people who would be in their 80s or 90s, or people who've even passed away now who are in that era. I almost just feel like that was the inner child's way of trying to survive, is like that complaining. It's so funny. They're like so much complaining, depleting energy, almost trying to get people to come down to your level. I don't know. It's so interesting. But the thing that I do want to highlight here, it says for your physical survival, that's talking about the same thing where it's an inner child response, a fight or flight response. They didn't know what to do, so they just did what they'd seen done again and again. And just that lack of maturity, like, I really don't want this to sound insulting to people, but I just think like there was so much trauma and wounding and insecurity, and it, like, a lot of it stemmed from having parents who were traumatized by the war, raising kids to not have their emotions, suppress their emotions, and then those ones doing the same to their kids. And I feel like there are some, don't get me wrong, where each generation it got a little bit better, but overall the global collective, it was just a ton of wounding. And they keep even saying like that 1994 Rwanda genocide, like people still weren't doing okay then. Otherwise they would have stepped in or something would have happened, but they were all too scared to like get involved with something like that again. It was almost like people couldn't handle getting involved again. And I even think that's why I just remember like people saying like everyone knew it was happening but no one would take action around it, and it was because of this wounded child stuff coming through where they're just like, we can't get into that again. Like I can't handle it. So it's almost like they pretended it didn't exist. And I think there's tons of wars that have happened like that around the world, where we knew something was not so great happening, and then we just kind of went into fight or flight and just decided, oh, if we don't pay attention to it, then it doesn't exist anymore in our world. This one is really interesting. Pretension to much deeper knowledge than you actually possess. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so this all sounds so inner childy. I mean, here it's talking about how people would pretend to have the right answers, pretend to know what to do in situations, instead of collaborating or working together and admitting they didn't have all the information, admitting they didn't know what to do or what the best action was, and trying to do everything and be everything and not ever ask for help or ever admit to weakness. And that's the word they would use, weakness, not being able to do it. So I almost feel like this is definitely a big thing that I'm sure we're going to see we're transitioning out of, is collaborating. I've seen so much of that energy coming in where people want to be successful, and to realize to be successful, everyone can be successful. And there isn't like this scarcity mindset where this is coming from scarcity, like so much about not being enough, dysfunctional relationships, resisting forgiveness of self and others. It's so interesting. So I even think politically, this feels very like it's going to be very political, where understanding that they can admit to not knowing everything and not always making the right decisions, and almost I feel like crowdfunding, is that the word? Crowd something, whatever that word is, to figure out the best solution. Is it crowdfunding? Surfacing. Oh, I can't think of the word right now. Oh well, I'll just have to let it go. So it's really, really interesting. Huge collective era of inner child wounding and basically like childish tantrums and behaviors, and almost like, I think that even makes sense. Like sometimes you've heard politicians and like other people fight, like political leaders. It's just the one that I think of because they're most publicized, but they're fighting like a couple of kids, and you're almost embarrassed to watch it or hear it. And I feel like that's just kind of how things were. Like even think old CEOs, old business operations, like there was just a lot of this weird energy, and it feels like they're just wounded children kind of lashing out. And don't get me wrong, this isn't going to be every single person. This is the overall collective energy. So I'm not just talking about America, Canada, or Europe. I'm talking about collective, like the globe as a collective. So although some people, there might have been some better energy, overall this was the dominant energy for the collective. The last, like they're saying, since World War I-ish to pre-COVID. Yeah, okay, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should say here, but I feel like it's pretty clear. It did say blames all dysfunctional relationships on childhood wounds, resisting moving through forgiveness, and then how it could be fixed would be awakens compassion and desire to serve others, wounded children, opens the learning path of forgiveness. So it's almost like there was these lessons they could learn through this, but I don't think the overall collective stepped into those lessons and learned them. I think a lot of them stayed in the shadow attributes. So they were challenged to, like it says here, have compassion, serve others, and help other wounded children, and open up to forgiving others and self. And this one was about learning independence, trusting yourself, and overcoming your fears, and not feeling like you are just surviving in scarcity mindset, but if you stay in it, you feel abandoned, stuck in a certain level of maturity, and seeking inappropriate surrogate family members. So that's really interesting that it says that. Yeah. Okay. So I would say overall, the energy that the globe was in was lacking. Being able to see deeper. What was that? Self-reflection, that's the word I was looking for. Like the unseen, too much is hidden from you. I feel like they didn't have even like the role model or the knowledge to look within self to to heal this fear and scarcity and these things they didn't like. Like, there's just like, there wasn't even like knowledge that one could do that for themselves. And like I said, there's somebody here who's like, well, that's not true. What about people like, I don't know, like Tony Robbins or like something like that? And I'm like, this is not, Tony Robbins is like one person in billions. So that's why I have to keep saying it's like collective global energy. So there might have been like 1% of those people or even 2% of those people who were doing a different thing, but unfortunately that's such a small percentage that it doesn't trump the collective global energy that was happening. Okay, so now let's move into the transition time. So this is the time I believe we are in now. So once again, this is for the larger global community collective. We have teacher, ability to communicate knowledge, experience, skill, or wisdom. So that's beautiful. It kind of goes the opposite to what the other one was here, where, what was it again? It was that person who was pretending to know everything, and although they didn't know and were creating more chaos, they just couldn't admit due to like ego or feeling like it was like guilt or shame to admit they didn't have the answer. So I feel like teacher is like a great opposite energy to be coming through. We have priest, facilitates spiritual commitment, serves as a channel of spiritual energy. We have destroyer, releasing what is potentially destructive, preparing for a new life. This could seem like an intimidating card, but this is actually a great card to have for basically complete transformation. Like, I would almost see this as like destroying old dysfunctional ways, blowing things up that weren't working, shedding light on systems that were destructive. Like, just even think about that. Like, you can only put something under pressure so long before it erupts. And then at first it might seem like a mess, but then after that, everything kind of is clear and you can see where the problems were and you're not going to make the same mistake. Servant, delights in serving others with a free and loving heart. This is going to seem strange to people, but I actually see this card more as people wanting to be of service. So not servant as in slave or as in someone who's giving up their will, but I see this honestly as being like, how can I be of service to the highest good? How can I be of service to my family? How can I be of service to the collective? So this actually feels like shifting from the ego and I mentality into a collective mentality. And I even like that it's kind of playing on a little bit of opening the heart to being able to be of service in that way. But it's talking a lot too about how it's going to take some time. This is not a card that says this will be done in a year or two. I actually think it's so funny, the word 50 just came to my head. I think for the collective and the globe, it could take about 50 years to really get more people or the majority of the collective on board with being of service to the highest good of the collective. Which in some ways, if we could actually do that in 50 years, is really impressive because it's been hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years that we haven't been doing that. Poet, it says, expresses soul insight symbolic language. So even like for this card, it does also to me reiterate that whole speaking from a heart-centered place, voicing things that aren't just about self. Like I like how there's two doves there. So it's almost to me communicating that people are just gonna come from such a heart-centered space that they aren't there really is way less ego, way less scarcity mindset, way less fear about there not being enough. And isn't this fascinating that you have a lot of the colors coming through here? So we have kind of like a greeny turquoise, we have a blue, we have a purple, we have a pink, and we have a red. So we're just missing an orange and a yellow to have all the chakras there. So that's really interesting. We have Wonder, Voyage, Crossing Deep Waters, Pilgrimage, Journey of the Soul. So I almost see that being like some Dark of the Night soul action happenings, definitely with this Destroyer card, but also people finding a new way, finding a way that is more true to who they are and finding more self-honoring jobs and families and friends and purposes, and not just doing something because they feel like they have to. There's no scarcity mindset there. Okay, we have divination. I'll show you that card since I don't think it quite fits. We have divination. And then we have energy field adjustments. Wow, that is a super appropriate card. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about how like the veil or the whatever you want to call it, the heavier energies that we were surrounded by on this planet has really, really lifted. And it really does depend on what you believe. The way I see it is I see that it's almost completely gone. Almost completely gone. But there is still a little bit of like a little bit of its remnants there, and I almost feel like that will be there until enough of the collective can kind of make it through some of this transition, because I see it as too shocking and too much for the greater collective to be able to handle nothing at all, no veil at all. So I do feel like there's still a little bit left, but if we're talking percentage wise, the way I see it is like 75% is gone. The remainder there is just enough to not totally make people lose their minds, but also enough that we can change and come more into our own personal power, and things will be clearer. And let's say like some conspiracies will be proven, and then those conspiracies that sort of disempower you will be less and less of topic. It's almost the word I want to use. So I do like the energy field adjustment card coming through, aura cleansing and health, but I see this more as the energy of the earth, especially for a collective reading, that this is going to be for everyone. And I guess we have our orange here to make up for it. It's so funny that I put it underneath the destroyer card, so I really feel like this is talking about the earth itself, these two cards. Bringing to light everything. Yeah, so interesting. I do actually wonder too if there will be lots of natural occurring disasters, and it's almost just like a clearing, an earth clearing that's happening. Yeah, I don't know. I just keep thinking about that. I keep literally seeing volcanoes exploding, tsunamis. I don't know. Is that the one where like huge waves come in? I don't know. I can see stuff like that, and just being all like for the highest good. Like people who aren't wanting to be a part of this upgrade won't have to be. And I actually should say this because sometimes people can go into fear for this. I really do believe there's like different timelines we can all be on. So say if you're on the timeline that is going to the highest vibration, and someone else is like, I don't really want to be there. I don't want to be there for this transition. I'm good. I want to keep doing something else. I feel like in our timeline they might die, but in another timeline they'll still be there because they wanted to keep existing in that energy. They weren't ready for the higher vibrational energy that you're going in. Or I shouldn't even say they're not ready, they just didn't want to be a part of it for whatever reason. So I do truly believe that there's a bunch of different timelines going on, and natural disasters aren't happening in all of them, and certain people aren't dying in all of them. It just depends on what their soul wanted to experience and what they're ready to experience. So we also have transparency, honest, authentic, genuine, and present. So that's also like a great energy that we're trying to shift into. And it kind of goes back to the opposite energy again, where with the teacher card, like just being open to communicate your knowledge, experience, and skills, share your wisdom, and admit when you don't know something. Be open to seeing new perspectives, other people's perspectives, hearing other people's opinions, and seeing I want to say like the strength in the difference of perspective and communication and experience. So when I see authentic, honest, and genuine, I see way less defensiveness. I see way less scarcity and way less inner child wounding. So I see people working through that, working through their wounding. Basically people, like it comes back with this servant wanting to be of service to the highest good, like people wanting to be the best version of themselves, and like having that conversation with themselves that they want to be different. And then here we have alpha of Alicion, I don't know. We'll just leave it there. But that card is really interesting. When I see this one, I see someone who is facing their shit and not maybe loving it, but also not hiding it. I don't know. I keep seeing this more as a yin yang. Like you see like the light over here, but also seeing the shadow over here, and just realizing that they are somewhere in between that. They are both those things. Like I see this as a balanced card, finding balance within yourself and who you are. And that goes really good with the transparency card about not being ashamed and hiding things and just being open and vulnerable and real. Can you imagine if all our politicians were open, honest, and real? Just even think the shift that would bring in. So this is really interesting that this is like the collective energy shifting in. And when I see like this priest card, spiritual commitments, channeling of spiritual energy, I see this wisdom of shells divination card. What was the other one I was seeing here? I can't think of it now. But I almost just see like a calling into people finding a more spiritual connection, finding a more empowering and equal connection. So I think there could be more people getting into, say, paganism again, more people getting into some form of connection with the earth. I think that is a big one. Everything I see here is talking about being able to communicate and understand the earth better. And that will look very different for many people. And there is something here too about, interesting. I don't know how to put it, like gender. I don't know if it's just gender equality. I think it's almost like instead of there being such a battle on which gender should deserve what and get what, I think there's going to be actually more peace between that and harmony between that. Because, I don't know, I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's almost like saying, like, releasing gender from all the pressures put on them, I guess. Like all the pressures put on men and all the pressures put on women. There's something that is intending to shift there. Both, how do I say this? I see both genders feeling more at peace. Less pressure, more at peace. So I don't really know where that's going to lead, but I do just feel there's that energy there. Okay, so I actually want to read this card because I feel like these white light oracle cards are quite deep. So do remember that although the wording will probably be me or you or something like that in the singular, this is for the collective. So a positive twist of fate and a windfall of good fortune are destined for you. Brightness and hope will alleviate negativity and give you the strength to find your way through a time of adversity or challenge. Finally, you will experience peace, love, and deep connection with your true self and the universe. Good things are on the way to you. So that's amazing. So it even talks about during this transition time for the collective, it will be hard. There will be challenges. There will be moments of feeling just horrible because people are shifting out of things, and to shift out of what they were saying here, like childhood wounding, being stuck in scarcity mindset, being stuck in a mindset of being a victim, of the world being against you. That takes some serious healing. That takes some serious heart energy shifting. I see there's going to be a lot of crown chakras being activated during this transition. And this is, like I was saying, for the collective. It might not be specifically for people watching card readings. They might already have a pretty good crown chakra. But I do think what it's saying here is the big thing that's going to change right now in this transition is the crown chakra opening, being connected to spirit or a sense of connection to the oneness of the world, unity consciousness. Oh, that's definitely what they're talking about here. Unity consciousness and the heart chakra opening, bringing in that love and compassion for all, and everyone is an extension of themselves, like opening it up. And that can only be done if you feel safe and you don't feel disempowered or under attack. So there was a lot of that energy being shifted out of the collective. A lot of soul journey, as this card said. So much going on. And even like this card, Soul Red, is talking about changing people's sense of security. What they believed was real in the world is all changing and shifting. It's huge, huge, huge time. I think that is why they're saying this transition period could be about 50 years for the whole collective to get there. Don't get me wrong, there's going to be some countries and some groups of people where it's going to take a lot less time. I'm thinking 30 for some other groups, but there's always going to be somewhere on the planet where there's going to be resistance to change. So I'm thinking in 50 years, huge, almost the whole globe, kind of complete 180, but 30 years might be for more specific areas, because do you think that's going to be a whole nother generation? So that's going to be so powerful. Okay, I'm wondering if I can get into the future energy. Yeah, let's do that. And then we'll do advice cards for you all, for the light workers during the transition time. So we might just end up going a little bit back and forth here. Okay. So this is the highest timeline that we are headed to for the collective energy. So we have beatitude of sacred rapture. We have reflections, what you contemplate can actualize. Soul cage, rescue, escape from captivity and restriction. Fertility, potential, powerful creative energy, initiation energy. And then we have child magical, seeing the potential for sacred beauty in all things. We have bully, highlights your tendency to intimidate others, helps you confront the inner fears that bully you. We have inspires creative energy to embrace the good things in life, celebrate beauty in yourself. And then we have feeling yourself and others of freeing yourself and others of destructive impulses. And we have passion for a journey of personal empowerment. And the last one, ability to give, creative energy, a practical expression, talent for designing resolutions to common dilemmas. So interesting. So the main theme I'm seeing here is these cards are talking about empowerment. And a limitlessness, and it's so interesting. So it's almost talking about previously living in a version of reality that was very limited, where you could only do so much, you could only have so many options, so many potentials to experience. And everything here is talking about freeing yourself from perceived limits, freeing yourself from fears too, and destructive habits. I think there was two here. The engineer one talked about, finding creative solutions for common problems. I actually even see this when I see the engineer one. This feels like really finding a better way to resolve problems, like I want to say pollution, like huge pollution vibes coming off with this. Not you know what I think the changes is saying, like, okay, if we are letting go of one person's successful capitalism possibilities, or like the financial gain they're getting currently from a certain industry, and we transition to a heart-centered, what is the word I'm looking for? Energy as a globe, then things like this, engineers will have the ability to come up with, I keep getting like just obvious solutions, because once they take the money and the greed and the scarcity of running out of money out of the equation, I just see things changing greatly. And then this magical, seeing the potential of sacred beauty in all things, the belief that everything is possible. This is a great card, and passion for empowering journey. I just can't say enough about like basically, I see the future of it being limitless in the sense of, look, escape from captivity and restrictions, power to create anything, inertia. I honestly just keep getting, like, I think there's gonna be a rebuild of what we perceive as normal society. Like, I think cars are gonna change. I think housing is gonna change. And I just keep getting that because I feel like something around the earth pollution is gonna get shifted, and then everything else from there will naturally change because it needs to fit that new system. But the thing that seems so crazy about this is they keep saying it's very obvious solutions where the only thing that has stopped this from happening to date is greed, scarcity mindset of a few with money, and that will just be gone. I don't see that being a problem. Like, everything here says all those things will go away. And even this bully card, this is talking about those kind of fears, like the fear of there not being enough. Like, they keep saying, like, right now, like, old systems have stayed in place because people are scared that if they go into a new system, there won't be enough money, they'll be broke, people won't have jobs. But then they're like, don't they understand the new system will have its own needs for people to fulfill as well? So the jobs will just look different, but they'll still be jobs. There'll still be needs for things and maintenance work, and it's just a totally different system, and there won't be this fear or intimidation of change, because they're talking about this is our big issue, is like being scared. And I think the fear is coming from a select few who are kind of spreading and playing on other people's fears. And then it's almost like a virus, like people are regurgitating that fear. And then that is like what's keeping us where we've been. So it's really interesting that they keep telling me, like, it's so obvious the solution. It's gonna, once this money issue and scarcity issue goes away, we're going to realize that there's great solutions. So funny. And then this reflections, what you contemplate can actualize. I love this. This is really talking so much about manifestation and people creating what they want in the world and seeing a possible future and knowing that they can take action that day and make it real. Magical card even also reiterates that just fertility, so much potential for growth. I feel like I keep repeating myself, but I'm like, maybe I'm not making it clear, but this just seems amazing. Like, I like the hero. I feel like people are going to be their own empowered heroes. They're not going to look to someone else for the solution. They're going to realize that they have their own power to change and create change in the world and in the realm that they're wanting to see change in. Inspires creative energy to embrace the good things in life, celebrate the beauty in yourself. This is just great. It's like, I even see this as talking about, instead of focusing, like, for example, the news on all the things that are going wrong, there's going to be a celebration on all the things that are going right, because this is going to be an era of mass transition and building. Like, I literally see, I'm thinking they're showing me like examples of like back in the era where they like started to create like iron and stuff, and they're like, that is going to be what this is, but it's going to be less pollutant. And it's almost like that is going to get people's fires in their bellies burning, like this excitement, like anything is impossible. You can invent anything. Like, it's just, that even just sounds exciting, doesn't it? Like, limitless. So, it just seems really great. I almost feel like, too, when they're showing me the energy of the future, it feels more like a collective oneness versus all these little fires everywhere and all these people doing their own things. I feel like it's like a group come together, like almost like what you would hope the UN would be, but it being that then, and like coming together and being like, okay, what do you have? You have this, how can we design this specific thing for, I don't know, I keep seeing like dome, like water places. What is that called? Like, I almost see, they're not islands, but almost like dome covered places where it's almost like, I don't know how to explain it. I feel like it's almost going to protect like a lot of places from the water getting too high. Like, it's I don't know. It feels like a glass dome, but don't make it sound scary because it actually looks really beautiful. And it feels like there'd be way more growing produce within there, and there'd be more protection from the elements, and overall it feels like it's collaborative. Like it's not just like one country, one culture that makes this. It's everyone has a piece of the puzzle and they come together and they make it the best, makes it the most strong, the most pollutant free, and the most, I feel like, what's the word, lasting. Like I think that's a big thing, is people are going to create materials that are long lasting and don't just last 50 years, 100 years if they're lucky, and then get destructed. So that's really interesting that that's coming through too. It actually feels so exciting. I wish I can really reiterate that energy enough. It feels so exciting because it feels like every day there'll be a new, better invention to replace an old system that is not working. And I really see that mainly in just like, for example, like a fridge just breaking down randomly. Stuff like that is going to go out the door because there's this heart energy, this like wanting the best for everyone and treating everyone like they're your family. No scare. It's basically like the fear around money goes away. But don't get me wrong, that's going to take some time, but it's almost like people realizing that money is just like this funny system that, why does it even exist? It doesn't really make sense. It's a piece of paper that we write a number on and then say it has that value. So it's fascinating. I almost feel like people as a collective or a global community start to see the funniness in that. Like, why does money have that true value of nothing? I don't know. Super interesting. So I do also want to read just the start of this card. Here we go. So it says, let your true self be seen. Search for the deeper spiritual purpose and opportunity for healing beneath conflict and suffering. If you have been in pain, this oracle brings a message of a joyful breakthrough. Your soul is growing stronger, more able to have faith in wisdom than in judgment or doubt. Commit to your spiritual path and know you are making progress. Even if things seem more difficult for a time, know that any such difficulty is part of your healing and that you will successfully move through it. Trust yourself. And it says to feel fully loved, seen, and recognized for who you are, and honors your truest self. So I feel like that's like an amazing group energy to come through. But it is important that they do point out that it's not going to be without its own challenges and its own difficulty, because to get through your fears and your concepts of what reality is and what something means is hard. So I feel like that is still going to be something that is always going to be worked through, but there is just a bigger energy of excitement, of empowerment, of limitless potential, being the change you want to see in the world. I know it's a classy, cheesy line, but I think the collective will actually embody that here, being the change they want to see in the world, being like the answer that they want. Super cool. Okay, so let's clear this out, and then let's talk about advice for the light workers during this transition era, so the now. Okay, so let's see here. You got a lot of beautiful water cards. We have alive. May you delight in vitality. Accept. May you receive what is as it comes. Wild, may you express all that you are. Journey, may you seek adventure. I really like these images. Forgive, may you let it be. And persist, may your ripples build the swell. Super neat. I like the forgive card coming through. Might have been a while ago now, if you've been here this whole time, where in the transition energy it was about learning to forgive others and forgive self to get out of that inner child wounding, that triggered fight or flight stage. A big thing would be to learn to forgive. And then we have also overcome your challenges, discover your sparkle, another water card, nourish your body and soul, and awaken your empathy. So when I see the empathy, right away think about remembering to have compassion for yourself and for others during this time. And I even see the persist, like even when things get hard and when you feel just done with things, check in with yourself. Make sure you're taking care of your self-care, that you're giving yourself the space you need, but don't give up. Don't give in, and don't lose hope that things are getting better. Things will get easier. That challenges will be overcame. And it just keeps going back to remember your sparkle. Remember what it is that you bring to this world. Remember the thing that brings you joy when you do it for others. And I just keep feel like I see this as being like what makes you feel alive. May you delight in vitality. The other thing I keep thinking too is like, don't fear the future or what's coming your way. Like, I feel like it's saying like you can't always tell what's coming around the corner or what the next step is, but you're in friendly waters. Like, you're in a place where it's going to be good. And the step, once you get there, the next step will be obvious. You might not know 10 steps from now or 20 steps from now where you'll be at the end of it all, but just trust that that is part of your journey and a part of you enjoying the unknown of this reality. And that it's just, they keep saying you're in friendly waters. You're in friendly waters. Don't worry. Yeah, so much of that is coming from this card. And I just feel like there's so much clearing going on. I mean, I did choose water cards, that makes sense, but most of them here have just crazy waves going on. I just see that as clearing, just taking all that is no longer serving you and bringing in inner peace, calm. Yeah, I don't know, I keep coming back to just feeling just calm within yourself, comfortable within yourself, less chaos, less stress, less just fear around what the unknown is. That's a big theme here. Like, don't get stuck on the unknown and feeling like you need to control what's coming your way, and if you don't know, you might not be safe. It's all about just riding the wave and just, I don't know, I can just feel the end goal is just feeling content and confident in yourself, that you don't need to have control of what's coming your way all the time. So much blue, even in the two cards I chose, with the turquoise, awaken your empathy, and brilliance, discover your sparkle. Just so much going in here. I almost feel like they're saying like all you can do is just focus on yourself and how you're feeling, and don't pay attention to what other people are doing. Don't put so much of your time on how other people aren't doing their work or how other people are acting, and just focus on, I keep saying like your sparkle, your shine, like making sure that you feel good, that your needs are met, and that you are, they keep coming back also to the inner peace thing, that you're feeling good within yourself. As a huge theme is just enjoying your own journey and not paying attention or getting sucked into like the collective or the global chaos, because there will be some global chaos. There will always be people who are resisting change. And if you get caught up into that, then that's just not going to serve you in your highest good, we'll say. And yeah, did you just keep talking about how you feel unclear about where the future is, but do you just keep trusting the one step they're showing you? Because it's almost like the journey wouldn't be as fun or as worth it for you if you could see all the steps you have ahead. And I even think that's where it comes with the wild, like just understand the fun of life is usually the unpredictable, the things that sometimes you didn't know were going to happen, and then they feel extra good. And they're even saying if you're jumping to like, oh, well, what if it's bad? Like, well, I wonder where that fear is coming from. And just holding space for yourself to figure out, why is that fear coming up, and how can you shift out of that? I do feel like the light workers here, the advice cards is that you are transitioning faster than the global or the collective energy. So if they're in kind of the chaos and all that, I feel like you're you kind of were more in that before, and you're starting to come through it faster. So you're somewhere in between that transitioning stage and the next stage, but there is still stuff to clear out. There's still an empowerment piece and a trust piece, I think, is a big one here. Trusting that you don't need to be fearful of the future. I think that is what it is, because I keep coming back to like feeling like you need to be prepared for the future or scared of the next step, or what if, like, it's fear. It comes back to fear, like scared that something won't work out for you, but trusting and knowing that you can overcome any of your challenges you're faced with, as this card even says. So this is working on the root and the heart chakra together. So that's really interesting. So it's a bit of a block around your sense of security and feeling safe due to just past history, past energy, but also with the heart being hesitant to receive just all that help. So definitely the same kind of energy as a collective we're trying to get rid of is that fear. That is exactly it, actually. The heart and the root not being sure it's safe to receive and be in a heart-centered space because they've been stuck in the scarcity mindset. So you're not alone, but I do feel like you are going to figure this out faster than the collective. And that's even why you're here, is to help. By you doing this work already, you're helping the energy be easier for the collective, because someone who's already in their heart energy is a great role model for others to also feel safe being in their heart energy. And I think that is a huge soul purpose about why any light worker is here right now. So as it said, nourish your body and soul. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. You know what? Let's even just pull a card about the energy you're in right now and the energy you're going in the very near future for light workers. Okay, we have visionary, capacity to envision what is not yet conceivable to others, willingness to proclaim a vision without regard for for personal gain. The energy you're heading in the new future. Okay, I know it says gossip, but I like that it says here awakens consideration for feelings of others and honoring trust, which is a big thing we're saying here about trusting that you don't need to know the next step, trusting that everything is going to work out for you and there isn't going to have to be fear about the future. And this says understanding the nature of healthy romance inspires you to rely on yourself. So I know the title seems shitty, but so just ignore that. But what they have to say is actually quite beautiful, because this is talking about being in that energy we're saying for the future of empowerment, understanding healthy relationships, knowing you can rely on yourself and be the hero you need and want. So that's great. It's literally the energy that is coming in for the collective in the next 50 years. It's going to come in for you in the near future. So that's super awesome. And then this saying awakens compassion and consideration for others and honoring and trust. That's super awesome, because we're talking about how if you have trust energy, then you're not always fearful. So super great. You're going to get there, no problem. And I like the visionary right now, which is telling me that you're not quite feeling this, but you're going to get there. You see a reality and a place in the world or a place in your life where you will be able to trust. You will be able to take action and feel super empowered. But sometimes now this old stuff can get to you and you can find yourself needing some self-care and needing a little reminder. So it's awesome, guys. You're right where you should be, and you're heading right where you need to be, and you're definitely doing it faster than most. So you're doing us all a favor. Yeah. Okay, I pulled one more for fun. Oh, I didn't actually know there were so many child cards. I've never pulled one child card from this card deck, so I'm just like, whoa, I'm learning so much about this card deck today. So the other one, the energy you're heading into soon, is friendships with animals, communicating with nature spirits. I love that. So just being more connected with Mother Earth, with, I would just say, everything and everyone around you. So beautiful energy to be in. Okay, hopefully that helped you all out. I think I'm going to leave this here. It was kind of a long reading if you actually stayed tuned for it all. But just know you are doing great. You are kind of taking it on head on here. I mean, your group, being the first group does make it harder, but it makes it so much easier for everyone else. And then because of people like yourself, all the light workers out there, we're just going to help the collective move through it faster. So 50 years is amazing. That means most of us will still be alive to see it. So that's awesome. And then, like I said, I do get that there'll be 30 years. In 30 years, it will be the majority will have shifted. But to get the whole collective, like I'm going to say, like, so that instead of the reverse of it being 1 or 3% right now, it's going to be 1 or 3% that aren't in this energy. So it's super cool to see that transition within our lifetime. Super cool. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Maybe let me know what you thought. Is it a little too long? Maybe we should stick to pick a card piles and not collective readings. All right, you guys have a good one, and maybe I'll catch you around.